Welcome back to the channel. We're out in the little greenhouse today. I wanted to share a few ideas with people, and I wanted to talk about our soil and composting and some hot composting for quick gains on your veggie garden. So as I'm coming in the greenhouse, I noticed one of my plants moving here. Got a toad. There he goes. And then I've always got bullfrogs and all types of critters hanging out. There he is. So we've got plenty of pest control. We've got toads and frogs guarding all of our plants in here. They don't do really any damage to them. They kind of just hang out and eat all the bugs that try and eat our plants. I want to talk about our soil in this greenhouse, because this greenhouse is solely for propagating right now. We have laid down old feed bags that fit almost perfectly in our 2.5 foot beds here. So underneath all of our feed bags, all of this soil is just being churned. Worm castings are a great sign. All of this soil has been basically churned up underneath there. So we are letting all of these beds rest, as opposed to how we had it last season. We kind of grew in here and just used the center and our aquaponics there for our propagating, but now we have all of our beds resting because we really used them all winter long and they sapped up a lot of nutrients. So we had mixed some of our compost and some of our soils together and filled these beds back in before we put all of these layers down on top of them, all of our cover and all of our pots and plants and bricks and whatnot, covering pretty much all of our bed, kind of just letting it mull over and letting the worms and critters underneath the soil do their thing. Now these beds are rather small. They don't require a whole lot of soil or compost to fill them back up. So I wanted to run out and talk about the soil for your veggie garden also. We're gonna head out to the garden here and go check out our beds that we had for our tomatoes. We had planted all of this directly into compost. All of these were basic just compost beds. We did a back to Eden method in our garden here, and this has been about 5 years in the making. 90% of the weeds you see on the edges of all of our beds and everything, they are all just food plants that have been recycled and had started to grow from seed. So what led me to come out here is I had just sown all of my carrots in the middle of all of these tomatoes here. These are a nice rainbow heirloom tomato. We've got all of our mortgage lifters that I'm going to try and climb up these poles here, and we had sown carrots in the middle of those also. But what I want to do is put some compost around all of these plants. So that led me to a hot composting method that I've been using for a while now. When I need hot compost that is pretty quick, pull this apart here. Now we had built this last night. Pull my heat gun out. We're sitting about 90 degrees. That's about 4 inches in the middle of that. Let me dig a little further there. See what kind of temps we're getting. About 10 inches in. Yeah, that felt a little warm to my finger there. So sitting about between 95, 101. I can smell the heat coming out of there. And we had built this about 24 hours ago, and that's really heating up for us. We have had rain, so I've had this covered. I didn't want too much moisture getting in here and kind of filling it up to where it would be too soggy. So I'm gonna run this for a few days, and then I will turn all of this up and basically cover it back up, and we will have fresh compost. Within the 18 to 20 days, we will be able to fill all that compost in around all of our tomatoes and have it kind of heaped up on the sides of our carrot rows here. Now the consistency of this compost, there's a lot of green stuff in here, but you can see that most of this was a pile of compost that we had breaking down. We broke it apart, and we had torn all of our radishes out of this bed. We had radishes coming up through all these random little beds, and we had pulled them all out as they had gone to seed on us. We had harvested what we could, took to the market, and we had basically recycled all the beds and turned it into compost. We have our compost pile over here that's really dark now. It was all green material and some of our old material from the garden last year. We had a massive pile that we kind of restarted and re-inoculated with all of the radish greens that were on the tops of that. I put the bulbs of the radishes in also, and these probably won't break down the best, but the actual green nitrogen filled stalks and all of the leaves, they're creating a lot of heat in there. You can see it's starting to rain on me. So as it's starting to rain on me, I wanted to share that method with everyone. I gotta head inside here and get the camera out of the rain, but if anybody has any questions on this, we're doing about 50-50 nitrogen to carbon to get a very fast and hot pile. we had done multiple bucketfuls. We used 5-gallon buckets for layers. We used a brown layer, a green layer, brown layer, vice versa, and just basically put a little bit of water on it. And within 24 hours, here we are. We have a hot compost pile at least 100 degrees within 10 inches of the outside of the pile. And if you do your compost right with the right ratios, you will have a hot compost within 24 to 48 hours with given circumstances. If it's colder outside, it could take longer, but we're sitting about 50 degrees overnight and about 70 degrees during the day. So it's not so hard to get that pile hot and started. We're able to get the heat off of that right away. So that tells me we'll be able to recycle that very quickly and kind of do another pile after we spread all of our compost and put some up on our cucumbers and melons and all the market greens that we're trying to produce here. I just want to thank everybody for watching these videos and checking all of this out. I will bring an update as I continue to turn this pile. I may do a 3-part series on this and kind of mash them all together at the end.